Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories, where the flames flicker, the darkness lingers, and the stories we tell are more than just legends. Every Wednesday, we take a journey through the darkest corners of human existence. These are the stories of real people, real crimes, and real tragedy that defy imagination. The kind of terror that doesn't just hide in the shadows, but walks among us. Because the scariest stories aren't found in ghost tales or urban legends. The real terrors of the world are the ones that happen to people just like you and me. Welcome to my series, Far From Fiction. Some stories shake us to our core. Some tragedies remind us of how cruel the world can be. This is one of those stories. This is the story of Sam Nordquist, a kind-hearted young man who sought love and acceptance, only to walk into the darkest nightmare imaginable. Before his name made headlines, before the unspeakable horror that stole his life, Sam Nordquist was just a kid from Red Wing, Minnesota. Born in 2000, Sam spent most of his early years in this small, quiet town, where everyone knew everyone, and life was supposed to be simple. From a young age, Sam was described as bright, caring, and creative. But behind his childhood laughter and playful spirit, there was something deeper, something that set him apart. As he grew older, he started feeling different, like he didn't quite fit into the identity he was given at birth. By his teenage years, Sam began to fully embrace who he was, and he came out as transgender. A journey that was both freeing and challenging. For many, transitioning is a deeply personal and difficult process, one filled with obstacles, both internal and external. But Sam pushed forward, determined to live authentically. In high school, Sam was known as a quiet but heartwarming person. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he was always there when somebody needed a friend. He had a close-knit family, a mother and two siblings, who supported him through the ups and downs of his journey. His mother in particular was his rock. Despite the struggle of being a transgender man in a world that isn't always accepting, Sam found comfort in his passions. He loved working with people, especially those who needed a little extra care. After high school, he worked in a group home for disabled individuals in Little Canada, Minnesota. It was a job that required patience, kindness, and heart, all of which Sam had in abundance. But time moves forward, and like many young adults, Sam was looking for something more. He wanted companionship, love, someone who truly understood him. And so, like many in his generation, he turned to the internet. That's when he met his online girlfriend from Western New York. It started like any other romance. Messages turned into late-night calls, long conversations filled with dreams of a future together. Sam had never met her in person, though, but that didn't matter. He felt a connection, and that was enough to make him take the leap of faith. In late September of 2024, Sam made the decision that would change everything. He told his family he was traveling to New York to visit his girlfriend. The plan was to stay for 2 weeks, maybe a little longer if things went well, but the promise was clear: he would come back. With a hopeful heart, Sam packed his bags and set off for a trip that was supposed to bring him closer to love and happiness. But as we will soon find out, he would never return. When Sam Nordquist boarded a bus to New York, he was filled with excitement, a fresh start, a chance to turn an online connection into something real. For the first time in a long time, Sam was chasing something he truly wanted: love, adventure, and the hope of a brighter future. He had spent months talking to his online girlfriend, building a connection across the miles. Now he was finally going to meet her in person. When Sam arrived in New York, things seemed to be going well. He texted his family often, keeping them updated on everything. The places he saw, the time he spent with his girlfriend. He even sent pictures, smiling, happy, to his loved ones. This was a sign that things were going just as planned. For the next few weeks, Sam sounded like he was on top of the world. He told his mother about the small moments that made his trip special, how he and his girlfriend had stayed up late night talking, and how they were explored their town together. Everything finally felt right. As time passed, Sam's stay stretched beyond the original 2 weeks. But his family wasn't too concerned. He was an adult, making his own choices, and he assured them that he was happy. But then, something changed. It started small. Missed messages, delayed responses. His once detailed updates became vague. His family noticed a shift, but they didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe he was settling into a new routine, but then things got even stranger. By December, Sam's texts were sporadic, almost distant. The warmth in his messages were fading. His mother, who had always been able to sense if something was wrong, began to worry. She asked him directly, "Are you okay?" His response was short, unusual, and then the messages stopped altogether. No calls, no texts, just silence. Days passed, then weeks. Panic began to sit in. Sam had never gone this long without reaching out. His family reached out to anyone who might have answers, but there were none. Desperate for help, they contacted law enforcement, asking for a wellness check at the address where Sam had been staying. But their pleas were met with an indifference. Multiple requests for wellness checks reportedly went unanswered. Sam's family was told that because he was an adult, he had the right to go silent if he wanted to. It wasn't illegal. But his family knew better. Something wasn't right. Then, on February 13th, 2025, they got their answer. The Sam they knew, the Sam they loved, was gone. But the horror of what happened to him, that part was just beginning. When the police were finally convinced to conduct a wellness check, they uncovered something far worse than anyone could have ever imagined. The officers arrived at a small budget motel in western New York, the last known location linked to Sam. The room that they were led to was supposed to be another routine check, but the moment they opened the door, they knew something was wrong. Inside, officers found disturbing signs of violence. The room was in disarray, furniture broken, the walls scuffed, and an overwhelming stench filling the air. But what truly caught their attention were the stains. Dark, dried blood splattered across the mattress, the walls, even the bathroom sink. Despite their chilling discoveries, Sam himself was nowhere to be found. There was no sign of his body, no obvious clues to his whereabouts. But the evidence in that room told a horrifying story. Something violent had happened here, and it happened to Sam. The wellness check was no longer just a precaution, it was now an active investigation. Authorities questioned the motel staff, asking when the last time they saw Sam was, or the woman that he was staying with. Witnesses reported hearing disturbing sounds coming from the room in late November. Shouting, crying, loud thuds, but no one called the police. Others recalled seeing Sam in public, but something about him had changed. He looked thinner, paler, and lifeless. He barely spoke when he saw his girlfriend, and then one day, he was gone. Despite growing evidence of foul play, the case seemed to stall. Sam's family pleaded for answers, but the police had no body, no active suspects, and in no way proving exactly what had happened inside the motel room. But then, everything changed. On February 13th, 2025, a call came in to 911. A worker clearing snow off a rural road had discovered something horrifying. A pile of human remains, partially buried in the icy grounds. The scene was gruesome. What was left of the body was unrecognizable. The elements had taken their toll. But even before forensic confirmation, investigators had a gut feeling. It was Sam Nordquist. The remains were rushed to forensic specialists, and within days, DNA testing confirmed what Sam's family had feared the most. he had been murdered. But the horror didn't end there. Investigators soon realized Sam hadn't just been killed, he had suffered. Evidence showed signs of prolonged abuse, multiple broken bones, bruising that indicated he had been restrained. The autopsy revealed shocking details about what he had endured in his final weeks. It was no longer a missing person case. It was something far worse, a brutal case of torture and homicide. But the biggest question remained, who did this to Sam and why? The police followed evidence. They uncovered a nightmare of manipulation, control, and an unimaginable cruelty. For months, Sam Nordquist had been living in a nightmare. Sam's girlfriend, the person he had traveled to New York to be with, was arrested and charged with the murder. But she didn't act alone. Her father was also taken into custody. As police pieced together the evidence, they uncovered a nightmarish reality. Sam had been held captive, abused, and ultimately murdered in a twisted, premeditated act of cruelty. Sam's abuse had escalated over the time. Investigators found disturbing text messages between his girlfriend and her father, discussing ways to punish Sam. Witnesses who had seen Sam in public described him as frail, terrified, and visibly injured, and yet no one stepped in. Sam was physically and sexually abused by many people. He was held hostage, denied proper nutrition and hydration, was fed feces, and forced to drink urine. He was treated like an abused dog. One of the last times Sam was seen alive in early December, captured on surveillance footage at a gas station near the hotel, he appeared withdrawn, barely speaking, his once bright personality drained just weeks before he would be dead. When Sam's family learned the truth, it shattered them. His mother, who never stopped searching for answers, sat in the courtroom, hearing the horrific details of what happened to her child. She had begged the police to check on him sooner. She had fought to be heard, and by the time anyone listened, it was too late. Sam's murder didn't just devastate his family. It sent shockwaves through his hometown of Red Wing, Minnesota, and the LGBTQ+ community. Sam, a transgender man who had already faced so many struggles in his life, had become the victim of an unthinkable hate-fueled crime, and they would refuse to stay silent. In the wake of his death, vigils were held across cities in the country. The LGBTQ+ organizations demanded that Sam's murder be recognized as a hate crime, pushing for stronger protection for transgender individuals. People who had never met him shared his story, ensuring that his name would not be forgotten. After legal proceedings, justice was finally served. 7 people were arrested for the death of Sam Nordquist.
New details in the torture of a transgender man in Ontario County. The 7 people charged in Sam Nordquist's death have all been indicted on first-degree murder.
It specifically requires that we prove that all 7 defendants tortured Sam Nordquist and that they did so because they enjoyed it. That's what murder in the first degree is.
All evening, we have been walking you through what a prosecutor called a death by torture. Tonight, you're going to hear from a friend of Sam's. But first, News 10 NBC's Christy Blake takes us through the charges outside the place where state police say that torture happened.
Police now confirming Sam Nordquist was abused, tortured, and murdered here at Patty's Lodge in room 22.
They did so because they enjoyed it. That's what murder in the first degree is.
The 11-count indictment was released today, detailing the abuse Sam went through.
He was denied proper nutrition and hydration. He was fed feces. He was forced to drink urine and chew spit.
Police say once this group got a hold of Sam, they never let him leave Patty's Lodge alone.
Our understanding is he came here on his own free will and was staying at Patty's Lodge on his own free will when this began.
Investigators are not pointing fingers at any one suspect as the ringleader, instead saying they plan on proving the entire group played their own role in the murder. The group also faces sexual abuse and conspiracy charges.
There's also a charge of concealment of a human corpse because, as we all have heard previously, Sam's body was removed from 22 Patty's Lodge and taken to Yates County, where he was dumped out on the side of the road in a farmer's field, wrapped in plastic bags, where they hoped no one would find him.
What was once a memorial site for Sam now looks like it's been all cleared. There used to be flags in room 22's windows. Those have also been removed. Sam was buried on Monday. His family is flying to New York City today because it's somewhere he always wanted to visit. Reporting from Patty's Lodge in Canandaigua, Christy Blake, News 10 NBC.
Some of these names are difficult to read, so I apologize if I mispronounce them, but there's Precious Arzugua, who is 38, Jennifer A. Culjano, who is 30, Kyle Sage, 33, Patrick A. Goodwin, 30, and Emily Modica, 19. They were the ones who were initially arrested, and 29-year-old Kimberly L. Socia and 21-year-old Thomas G. Eves were arrested just days after, all playing part in Sam's torture and murder, as well as them being charged with first-degree murder. Sam Nordquist was more than just a victim. He was a son, a friend, and a dreamer. He had survived hardships before, building himself into a person he wanted to be. He was kind, resilient, full of hope, and his story, though tragic, has sparked conversations that will no longer be ignored. That brings us to the end of tonight's story, but the darkness never sleeps. There's always more truths waiting to be uncovered. If you enjoyed this episode of Far From Fiction, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're getting closer to 100 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. So if you love true crime, horror, and stories that keep you up at night, join me on this journey. Also, I have some exciting news. My new book, A Perfect Journey Through Villainous Eyes, is now available on Amazon. If you love diving into the minds of the wicked, this one is for you. And as always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.